Hello and welcome to Lydden Hill in Kent for round 4 of the British Rallycross Championships. Now, this track right behind me is actually the smallest race circuit in the UK, measuring at exactly 1 mile in length. If you're new to Rallycross, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's a mixed surface, meaning there's some tarmac and there's some loose. The racing is kind of a hybrid. There's a little bit of rally in there, a little bit of F1 and a little bit of touring cars all mixed together. And the racing, it's just terrific. Within Rallycross there are a number of classes ranging from the very top of the pack, the 4x4 turbocharged supercars which really know how to fly, down to these little babies, the Suzuki Swifts, great fun to drive. Let's check them out in action now, shall we, and join Simon to see these little pocket rockets go.
Lining up at the head of the group is Chris Mullen in his green machine, currently lying third in the championship. He's hoping to make an improvement on his standings this weekend. And leading the way is Johnny Bean, followed by Lynch. Mullen lies third, Knight Coney fourth, Darren Scott is 2 points adrift in fifth, and Roddermark rounds out the top 6. So as the lights went out for the A final, it was Tristan Overton who led the pack into Chesson's Drift for the first time. The drivers made the choice of route. Overton is not being given an easy time, with Mullen followed closely behind. Chris Mullen was in second position and pressuring Overton for the race lead. As the cars came back around Chesson's Drift, Mullen spotted a gap, kept his foot in and managed to scrabble into the lead. Battles were far from over, however. Disappointed Johnny Bean running a long way down, and Mullen took his joker lap. He rejoined alongside Roddermark, just managed to hold on to the lead. One man coming back to British Rallycross was ex-Supercar driver Dave Binks, who returned with a bang. He fell out with championship leader Johnny Bean. Up at the front though, it was Mullen, managing to hang on to the win. Despite the pressure from Roddermark, he crossed the line 63 thousandths of a second clear coming home. In second was Roddermark, third was Overton, Scott was fourth, Tony Lynch fifth, and Binks on his return scrabbled in sixth ahead of championship leader Johnny Bean.
Well, that was, in a nutshell, a terrific race.
Terrific race, yeah. Didn't get the best of starts. Followed Tristan round, made a move on him, got straight past, and then just kept my head down and tried to pull a gap and took my joker out.
So in terms of the championship, Johnny Bean's 7th place finish means he's now only 1 point clear of that man Mullen. 4 points behind him is Tony Lynch, and he is closely followed by Graham Roddermark, Darren Scott and James Knight Coney. So with championship leader Tom Keat not present here this weekend, it's going to be interesting to see if Mark Scott can capitalise from his front row starting position. That is the situation. Keat 9 points ahead of Scott, Brett Harris in third, just 5 points further back ahead of Scotsman Don McLeod, Larry Sargent, John McGovern, round out our top 6 in the points so far. So with the Monster Girls smiling happily, Billy Dolphin gets himself ready to go, starting on the front row of the grid. Is it going to be Mark Scott who can take the championship lead away from Tom Keat? It's going to be a very tight and close-fought battle. No joker lap for the RX 150 buggies. They will be fighting hard throughout. A good start from the 22 car of Mark Scott, similarly just behind Kevin Feeney with a little bit of Subaru livery on the back of the 89 car of Brett Harris. Now 16 is a man that we've seen racing supercars and racing in the Suzuki Swift so far, the familiar name of Steve Hill. And he's up there trying something a little bit different. In fact, we've seen Ollie O'Donovan, the man who won at Lydden at the start of the year in the supercars, who was the champion in this category last year. He's been taking part as well and doing very well. Elected not to start the final, and a very, very sporting gesture, didn't want to affect the championship fight at all. So good bit of sportsmanship from Ollie there. See these wonderful little Honda Fireblade engines, buggies, so light and so dynamic, that create such a fantastic spectacle. The drivers are always absolutely on the limit in these things. Front Feeney, who we've seen right in the mix in just about every race so far this year. Mark Scott was the winner last time out when we were at Mallory Park. The first couple of rounds of the championship were won by that man Keat. It does look to me like already there's a big sideways moment there from Terry Dolphin in the 17 car. all identical as well. Look at Steve Hill trying the long way round, and Kevin Feeney, that's going to be very, very brave. Of course, such a lot of experience for Steve Hill. Normally see him in his Mitsubishi Evo 10. Had a bit of a time of it in the opening round of the British Rallycross Championship. Monster Energy here at Lydden Hill way back in March, when he had punches and bonnets coming up and all kinds of stuff. It caused a bit of a drama. And quite a busy time in the Suzuki Swift. You see the distinctive S on the back of that car, tells us that the Shannon Holdings company that Ollie O'Donovan's involved with, that's his company that are absolutely behind the rallycross adventures that we see. While out front, Scott has got his head down and starting to work away a little bit. Feeney there, trying to manage the balance of the car there. Seen him punch down through the sequential gearbox. Harris, his brother Jake as well, normally out here racing too. Very, very closely matched in terms of lap times. First lap 52.4 for Mark Scott, 52.32 for Brett Harris. Then it started to equal out a little bit. 48.0 and 47.8 for the respective drivers at the very front, so absolutely nothing in it. And I think in Brett Harris's mind, this was far from over this race. See how these cars back around all over that very rough section there as they come back off of the loose. The exit of Chester Swift comes back down to the Devil's Elbow. Such a difficult, demanding corner, and showing a bit too much curve there from Steve Harris. Just popped that front wheel up. He's still got good drive. Still got a really good drive around the outside of Kevin Feeney, and gets on the brakes. Feeney a little bit of a lock up there, possibly on the downshift. The inside wheel that locked up there. I don't think though they've made a mistake that's big enough to allow Terry Dolphin to close down on the pair of them. Meanwhile, of course, the two at the front really still getting very, very close. Look just how committed you can see there from Pat Harris, really. Absolutely on it all the way. It carried so much speed through the entry part of Chester Drift, getting onto the extra loose bit there on the exit of Chester's. Now looks like he just lost a little bit of ground. I think he was a bit too aggressive by the looks of things, but still seemed to get up and out of the left-hander pretty well. This has got to be a top result for him. He needs to do everything he can to try himself into the championship lead. See Tom Keat back out again. Keat's going to be disappointed, but it does look like it is going to be Mark Scott going to take his second consecutive victory and potentially move into the lead of the championship. He wins a very close race just ahead of Brett Harris, and the rest of the pack come through with Steve Hill taking a well-earned third ahead of Kevin Feeney. Terry Dolphin rounding out in sixth place. It was Larry Sargent, but a delighted Mark Scott takes his second win of the season. See what he feels about the win at Lydden.
That was amazing, absolutely buzzing after that. Been quick all day, and now to win the final just tops it all off. Brilliant.
I mean, it seemed to me that was a lot about the start. Two of you really pushing each other neck and neck, and then you just took it.
Yeah, well, to be fair, Brett's never been too far away from me, so yeah, it was all about the start today, and thankfully I nailed it.
Nailed it, he did, and this is what it means. Mark Scott now leads Brett Harris by 8 points, and Tom Keat dropping to third as he wasn't here this weekend. Don McLeod in fourth ahead of Sargent. John McGovern rounding out sixth place, just a couple of points back from Sargent.
Well, we've seen some great action already here at Lydden Hill, but now it's time for something completely different. 2012 sees the birth of this retro rallycross. Classic motors from the 80s getting it out there on the track to show that these motors have still got what it takes. Let's join Simon to see some of the action.
So it's Ian Biaggi sitting at the front of the grid in his marvellous BMC Mini Clubman. The championship new for this year, already proving to be very popular with spectators and drivers alike. Having lost James Harold in his VW Beetle because of difficulties, the grid was reduced to 5 cars. And because of the power difference of the 6R4 in the hands of Rob Gibson and the Lancia Integrale piloted by Grzegorz Kalinecki, they were held back and given a 5-second delayed start. When they were released, Rob Gibson went chasing after the pack. The Integrale, though, pulled very sluggishly off the line, and Kalinecki seemed to be having problems. Up ahead, newcomer for this round, Barry Stewart, really showed that the Porsche 911 was a fantastic rallycross car, now fitted with twin superchargers. It's proving itself to be very quick. Up at the front, the race was being led by Ray Morgan in the Ford Escort BD8, an absolutely stunning machine, one of the last rear-wheel drive rallycross cars produced before the four-wheel drive Escorts came out. While Ray was busy enjoying himself and setting faster and faster laps, he was being chased by the Porsche 911.
We had a bit of
just as that Porsche got close enough to have a go at challenging for the lead, disaster struck. Barry Stewart spun his car, throwing away not only second but also third as the charging 6R4 came flying around the corner and easily moved up and away. At the front though, Ray Morgan in his Escort was unstoppable, flying across the line to take victory, second since the series started last time out at Mallory Park. Second went the way of Rob Gibson in the Metro 6R4. Barry Stewart recovered the spinning Porsche 911 to take third, while the Mini Clubman with Ian Biaggi at the wheel came home in fourth position. Now it's time to have a look at the Super 1600, and as these cars line up on the grid, it's newcomer Nick Priddy in his Suzuki Swift who lines up on pole position. Currently leading the championship is Russ Simpson, brother of Supernational racer Ash Simpson. Second is Andy Knowles in his Citroen C2, and third is David Ellis in his Citroen Saxo. Ulrich Linnemann takes fourth at the moment, with Stuart Daxon fifth and Mike Jones in sixth. So lining up alongside Nick Priddy for the A final is the familiar white C2 in the hands of championship leader Russ Simpson, hoping to score some points over absent second place man Andy Knowles. As the lights went out, it became clear this was going to be a hard-fought battle for Russ Simpson, as Nick Priddy was to lead his way into the first corner. Nick pulled out the gap and was flying, really proving the Suzuki as a must-have car for any Super 1600 racer. Nick seemed to be uncatchable, and as he came across the line, he took the checkered flag first, a staggering 16 seconds clear of Russ Simpson and David Ellis in the Saxo. So Nick Priddy, with the win his first time out, was a very happy man. So Priddy wins from Simpson by 16.97 seconds. David Ellis in third, 29.54 seconds away from the winner. Now move on to the MSA Supernational. This is what the points look like after round 3 at Mallory Park. Ash Simpson has been so strong, and leads from Gary Dixon ahead of Michael Boat, Paul Wakeling, James Bird and John Wood. But no Michael Boat and no James Bird this weekend. So after a brilliant performance in the heats, the championship leader Ash Simpson will start his Lotus from pole position. Remember the flying MG last time we were at Lydden of Paul Wakeling. He was super impressive coming through. And Steve Cousins is going to be our camera car, give us some onboard action. Gary Dixon, second last time out at Mallory Park, will start his Astra from the second row alongside that very easily identifiable Volvo of Don Shannon. And at the back, it's the first time we've seen Stuart Emery. And of course, our B-final winner, John Wood, will join him in his MR2. So as the marshal clears the grid, Monster Girls clear the grid as well. The green flag will be waved, the engine revs will rise. Let's watch for the 5-second board. The stress levels rise amongst the drivers, and as they get away, what a start by Steve Cousins in the Lotus Exige, round the outside of everybody. Gary Dixon immediately takes his Joker lap, but it is Steve Cousins ahead of Ash Simpson. Paul Wakeling immediately slots into third ahead of Shannon. Emery in fourth position in the 206 Turbo. With these cars, remember, rear-wheel drive, such a wonderful mixture of chassis, a great way of seeing that different people come up with a different engineering solution to making cars go quickly. Not so quick as Emery's providing there if you get all the way out onto the dry and dusty dirt on the exit of the Devil's Elbow. Ash Simpson has been absolutely impeccable this year. He's been under pressure by all sorts of people, but gets such a good run down the hill, round the outside and into the right-hander at Paddock Bend. Now we get a chance to see what it looks like from the cockpit of Steve Cousins as he flicks over the curb. Have to be careful of that curb. We saw what happened to Andy Knowles earlier in the show. He clattered across the curb and seemed to cause what we think might have been damage to the underside, possibly to the sump. Took him out for the day. You see just how hard these guys are having to work at the wheel to keep the car as tight as possible. Look at the lead already, though, that Ash Simpson has managed to eke out. Watch Cousins slicing through the left-hander, trying to get good drive up the hill, up through the gears, and then he's going to be braking hard and pitching the car into the hairpin at the top of the hill. Meanwhile, a recovering Steve Emery after his slightly wayward moment going through Devil's Elbow. He seems to have got the car tucked in well, but a bit of understeer, a bit of smoke pouring off the front tyres tells you that the car wasn't quite doing what he wanted to do. Gary Dixon, his venerable Astra, seems to be working quite well. Carries a lot of speed through the first part of Paddock Bend and seems to get good momentum. Meanwhile, we're seeing this Volvo get very, very, very sideways. Too sideways there. Just pitched it in a little bit too aggressively, on the power too early. That would have spun up the inside wheel, and then the outside wheel pushed it in a bit too much oversteer. Round he went. So for Don Shannon, a bit frustrating. You can see it again, watch as the car bounces up and over the first part of the entrance to Chestnut, and just doesn't quite manage to keep the car where he needed it. At least he managed to get away without getting any contact from anybody else, while the wheel hopping MG of Paul Wakeling seems to be working well for him today. He put on one of the strongest, most impressive performances in terms of overtaking, in coming from the back of the B final to get into the A final in the race at the start of the season here at Lydden Hill. He's been consistently amongst the point scorers whenever we've seen him racing. There's no doubt that Paul is really, really on a mission here. Himself into third place last time out at Mallory, and you see Emery also flying in the little Peugeot. It just looks like Cousins couldn't quite get the power down the where he wanted. Hasn't quite got the momentum. The Peugeot sliding around all over the place in front of him, but still getting the power down well. Meanwhile, Wakeling back at Cousins, and this is going to be an absolute fight to the finish. You don't have to worry about what's happening in the lead. Wakeling goes for it down the inside. Very, very late on the brakes, a very decisive move. Don't think Cousins was expecting that one at all. Back on board. In the distance, you can see the little white speck that is Ashley Simpson. It's just gone away from everybody else. Wakeling's car still working for him to get towards the end of the 5-lap race. The last lap board just gone out. Steve Cousins knows he can still manage to close down a Wakeling if he has an absolutely immaculate lap. This man, though, is looking like he is going to put another victory on the board. Increases championship lead. This is going to be his third victory on the bounce if he does this. It's going to be a tremendous performance by Stuart Emery as well. In the Peugeot 206, it looks like he could be on for a second place finish, which is absolutely outstanding considering a lot of these guys have been in this championship throughout the season. Coming through the right-hander and then through the chicane for the final time. It is going to be Ash Simpson who crosses the line. Takes victory here at Lydden Hill. Meanwhile, just behind them, it's going to be Emery, Wakeling, Cousins and Dixon fill up the rest of the spots. As always, fantastic action in the rear-wheel drive Supernationals. So the result is Ashley Simpson wins by 4.7 seconds ahead of Stuart Emery. Great performance by him. Wakeling another podium in third ahead of Steve Cousins. Gary Dixon, John Wood rounds out our top 6.
Top of the pack and a win. You've got to be feeling pretty special right now.
Yeah, it was another good point score, so it's a shame that all the other competitors, my main rivals, were here this weekend, but it gave us a chance to play around with the car, we used some of the Michelins from Merlin International and played about with the car, and the car went well.
Did it feel good?
Yeah, it felt mega. Changing things with no pressure, just being able to learn the car and develop it for when the going gets tough was a good chance.
So extending his championship lead to almost 30 points is Ash Simpson over Gary Dixon, with Paul Wakeling in third ahead of an absent Michael Boak. John Wood in fifth is moved ahead of James Bird.
What a weekend of racing we're having here at Lydden Hill, proving exactly why it's the home of Rallycross. But now it's time for something really special, and we're going to unleash these. It's the turn of the Supercars. Incredible pieces of machinery. They can out-accelerate a Formula 1 car and do 0 to 60 in sub 2 seconds.
So this is what the championship looks like after 4 rounds. Julian Godfrey leads Pat Duran by just 6 points. Ollie O'Donovan sits in third position ahead of Steve Hill, with Andy Grant in fifth and Andy Scott in sixth in his Ford Focus. With the silver Ford and the second row of the grid of Josh Janssen, looking to try and spoil the Duran party as well. Some regular drivers in there, of course. We've seen Steve Mundy looking very strong as well. Can he do anything about the cars ahead of him? So So let's watch. The 5-second board comes on, the lights go green, and it's Liam Duran who gets the best of the start. Julian Godfrey and Jos Janssen goes across to take their joker lap, while it's the Duran son and father that are at the head of the pack. He's also point specialist engineering built cars, looking absolutely superb in the bank holiday sunshine, as we see on board that man Pat Duran, big-time British champion, looking like he is trying with everything he's got to try and close down on Liam. Both go into the hairpin, pitching a wheel up in the air. Of course, remember these cars, four-wheel drive, over 600 horsepower, accelerate to 60 miles an hour in about a couple of seconds. They are the most spectacular cars that you see on the agenda here. And you can see just how hard Pat is working. He's really giving it everything he's got. Having a son that races myself, I know sometimes it's frustrating when your son is as good as Liam is, and that is quite one of those things that Pat is, I'm sure, well aware of, but I don't think he's ready to hand over the mantle to the boy just yet. Well, Julian Godfrey has been well and truly dropped. He's doing everything he can. He simply prefers his Ford, and at the moment I think you might be wondering whether a Citroen DS3 might have been the way to go. Now, problem for Janssen, a spin there, as he managed to get away without any damage. I think he might have done. But young Liam has certainly taken on the mantle, and the family honour is being upheld both in this race, but also, of course, in some fantastic races in Europe, as Pat now takes his Joker Mayhem logo proudly displayed on the side of his DS3. Of course, this is called the Mayhem event. And there is Julian in the background. We see him starting to do everything he can to try and close back down. Once again, as they go through the left-hander at the Devil's Elbow, the fight is still continuing. That pitches the car in again. It really transfers a lot of weight, doesn't it? Godfrey, quite a lot of understeer on the way, and it goes into a sort of an oversteer slide on the way up as they go back onto the end of the lap. I saw Julian Godfrey have a massive spin here at Lydden earlier in the year, in the very first race of the year. Crossing the line there, and Duran Junior, Liam just again using that spectacular action. He had absolutely tremendous performance in the B final and the A final of the European Championship event here back at the Easter Bank holiday weekend, when it absolutely teemed down with rain and it splashed through the mud after having some dramas in the heats. But he managed to get onto the back of the B final, work his way into the A final, and then charge through to a tremendous and very popular podium. But it looks, as they come to the end of the lap, that he's lost a little bit of pace. Puffs of smoke from the front of the car, but he looks like he's going to hang on. It's going to be Liam Duran who takes victory, and then promptly flies across the grass. So maybe there's a problem there for Liam on that final lap. Oh, certainly was puffing some smoke. Could have been something to do with the front end. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see. Let's have a little look. Yes, look at that. Look at that. You can see clearly a puncture, a front right puncture. Well, thankfully from Liam's point of view, it happened late enough in the race that it didn't really affect his performance. Of course, as he turns into the final corner, the right-hander is not a problem. But here, where all the weight goes on the outside of the car, he slices across the grass. Now, I bet the old man was kind of thinking that wouldn't have been such a bad thing if that had happened a little bit earlier. Gives the tyre a good old kick. And he's managed to get the job done, though. Another fantastic performance family-wise for the Durans, first and second. It's 0.02 of a second after that puncture, with Godfrey third. Big Monday fourth. Josh Janssen recovers from his spin in fifth. Gary Pusey in sixth.
I actually tried competing in the British Championship round at the start of the year with my brand new car at my home track at Lydden, and never even made it out onto the track, just sat and watched everyone else race. So it's nice to have come back, and first of all actually had a car to race, and I'm friends with all the supercar drivers anyway. Obviously my dad's racing, and Julian builds my engines for my European Championship car and the Global Rallycross car. So I'm friends with everyone anyway, and it's nice. Don't mean to come and prove a point and beat them all, but they all need to hurry up a little bit.
So what does it mean to the championship? Well, Julian Godfrey just 4 points ahead of Pat Duran. Ollie O'Donovan not competing this weekend in this class, neither was Steve Hill. And Liam Duran, despite only just coming in here, is fourth in the championship ahead of Andy Grant, who's sixth.